It's 8 o'clock. Call the property committee to order.
And I will call, it's 8 o'clock, so I will call the emergency management committee meeting to order.
Okay, radio project presentation, Gelcom, or GenCom, and Motorola Solutions.
You ready?
Yep.
Hello, my name is Gary Pelletier. I'm the Vice President of the General Communications, GenCom, based out of Madison, and with one of our local offices is in Eau Claire. So with me is Chad Stojkovic. Chad is with Tate. He is the regional channel manager for Central US, correct?
That's correct.
And then also Aaron, one of our system engineers and technicians out of the Eau Claire office. So a little bit about GenCom. I know a lot of you folks are wondering who's GenCom or Gelcom. I mean, it's like, hey, are these guys new? We've never heard of them. But we've been in business more than 50 years. Family-owned company, second generation now. We now have 5 locations. So most of them are in Wisconsin. Our headquarters is in Madison. Over 80 employees, and we cover most of the state of Wisconsin. So here's a little bit about Eau Claire location. That's just over an hour away. We'll do system staging there, where we actually build the equipment. That you can see a picture there of the racks that we're building for Barron County right now. That's the Barron County system. And then we also do vehicle outfitting. So we do everything, the squads from, you bring us a bowling squad car off the dealer lot, and it leaves with push bars, lights, sirens, radios, and everything. And like I said, local service. We're only, a little over an hour away to get here. Round trip, a little over 2 hours. Where closest for Motorola is over 2.5 hours away. So 5 hours round trip just to get here to service your equipment. We provide 24/7 support, remote and on-site. A lot of these are networked and IP-based equipment. So we can just log in remotely on some of these things and fix things remotely. But otherwise, if we need to come on site, we're an hour away. So our system is based off a Tate Communications base station. And a lot of folks have wondered, who's Tate? Well, and Chad, if you want to say a couple things.
Sure. Well, Tate's based out of New Zealand. We are a global company. 50% of the business we do is in the U.S. So one of the things we pride ourselves on is open standard, and allowing you to use whatever equipment you might want to as far as the radios onto the backbone, which is the infrastructure that we're talking about today. So we really pride ourselves on making sure that you guys have choices.
Yep, and Houston, Texas is their US-based office for support. Okay, I started doing a map of the systems in your area, and in the light blue teal, those are the Tate systems that are in your area or are actually going in. Barron County we're putting in right now. Sawyer County is 2025. So Washburn, Sawyer, Chippewa, Eau Claire, Burnett, everything around you right now is a Tate simulcast system. A lot of them have Motorola radios on it. They're not all Tate radios, they're not all Kenwood radios. Any radios will work on the system. So in fact, when we did Washburn County, I think the majority of the radios were Motorola radios, and the system plays just fine. The green are the Wiscom counties. Wiscom is a statewide radio system. Currently in the green, and Sawyer County uses half Wiscom and half of their own system right now. And then L3 Harris Tate systems, L3 Harris is going to be putting in the new Wiscom system. And that's why I wanted to show some of the counties that, L3 Harris, and we have tape overlays in a lot of those counties for the conventional equipment. So a little bit more about Tate. Tate is a very large company. They currently do Alliant Energy's system. They cover 140 counties on a radio system, covering 2 states. So you could be in Iowa talking to somebody in Wisconsin. So Alliant Energy put their faith in Tate. That system's been going, I think, since 2018. And so that's a very large system here in the state of Wisconsin. And right now we are working on We Energy's WEC. They own gas companies in the Chicago area. They've got We Energies in Wisconsin, WPS, and in the UP, they've got Upper Michigan Energy. So right now we are putting in a 3-state simulcast system with Tate equipment for We Energies with 93 sites. Oh, and there's a couple, that's just a Google Earth overlay of where we're gonna be putting equipment throughout the state with this Tate simulcast system for We Energy. So Tate is a large company. We do a lot of large projects, and we're doing statewide projects here in the state of Wisconsin, not just the county-wide projects. So our offering for Rusk County, it is a 2-channel simulcast, just like the Motorola. We do offer a 6-site instead of a 5-site system. We found in the Hawkins area, you currently have a site in Hawkins, and I believe without Hawkins, you are not gonna have good paging in Hawkins, especially in building. So we decided, let's keep the Hawkins site. I see the other bid does not have a site in Hawkins, so I'm concerned about your coverage in the Hawkins area with that. Also, we have no core. What does that mean? We don't need a central server to take everything. Everything is autonomous. You've got base stations, you've got dispatch councils, they all work independently, talking through network switches. You don't have to have some central cloud in the sky that takes care of everything. Because having extra servers are more points of failure, more expensive to operate, more expensive to maintain, and more expensive to replace all those components in the future. Our base station with Tate has built-in simulcast and voting, so it does all the technology internal to the base station. There is no external parts, so there's really less parts to build this system. We are using linear simulcast modulation, which is just a modulation method for better coverage. We're offering a 3-position dispatch console like you have now. Currently, the other counties around you are also using that same console. And we're doing outdoor cabinets. Some of these sites don't have big enough cabinets now or buildings that they're in. There is an option for a building as a shelter itself, but I believe George and the RFP, they were looking for some outdoor cabinets rather than buildings for savings of that. And there'll be an alarm system. We are gonna be hooking up to a fiber network, just like what Motorola was looking at doing. So we've already talked to Bruce Telephone about doing on that side of the state and Brightspeed on the east side. And then the bid also asked for some vehicle repeaters, which is the same vehicle repeaters that they're bidding, as well as we are offering Kenwood radios on this because they wanted 100-watt radios, and Kenwood is one of the manufacturers. So not only do we represent Tate, we represent other manufacturers. So pretty much this is your system. You've got 6 sites. You've got really 2 repeaters at a site, except Hawkins, we only have 1 for the paging and fire. And so really what you're buying is 10 base stations, 11 base stations, and a 3-position dispatch console. Pretty simple system. It all talks into the network through a fiber connection, and we just have switches and routers that take care of that. There are no central servers, there's no cores, there's no cloud in the sky that you need to communicate to before you're able to talk. So we are an integrator. We use a number of different manufacturers. And if you look at a typical radio site, the base station, in this case Tate, is just one component of that entire system. You've got Mindshare, the dispatch console, you have Cisco servers, you've got GPS clocks, you've got batteries, you've got cabinets. And we use a lot of the same equipment manufacturers that Motorola would use. So it's just one piece of the puzzle is this. So you look at a site, everything's the same except that base station radio equipment. And here is that base station I talked about. It is a second generation. Everything is built in. We've got thousands of these deployed in Wisconsin, and that's what we're using for the We Energies projects as well, and the Alliant. And as you saw before, the picture of the staging that we had with all the Barron County equipment, all you see is a bunch of these racked in equipment sites. Then we also have a battery backup system. It gives you a little more time before the generator kicks in, and if the generator should fail, the battery backup will actually last for a minimum of 4 hours. And if you want more run time, you can actually add more batteries to the system. This is a big advantage over a UPS, which I saw in the proposal was just UPSs. They'll maybe give you 15 minutes. And if that generator doesn't kick in, you're gonna lose that site. We also have an alarm system, so if there's a problem with that, any of the sites, you'll get a notification, whether it's a low temperature, high temperature, low power out at anything. It'll let you know if your power is out and if your generator started, so it'll give you generator status. So that alarm system will provide all the information that you need if there is a problem. So a typical site, I showed you the diagram before, here's what a typical site is. It's basically an outdoor cabinet. We've got a rack of equipment, batteries at the bottom, 2 base stations, a GPS clock, and a switch. So again, pretty basic what you have at every site. And then there's some filtering to share and combine the antennas that we're doing. So we did propose some optional buildings. It does bring up quite a bit on the RFP for these buildings per site, but if that's an option if you want to do buildings. So one advantage I believe we have with that equipment is, again, one base station does everything. You don't have these separate items for voting and simulcast control and site control. It is one base station. So less expensive, less power, your electric bills will be less at sites, and you don't have, like, again, any cloud in the sky that you need to talk to make this equipment work. So a typical site, like a 4-site system, that's how much equipment you need on the left, and on the right, you need a lot more equipment to make the same equipment work. And that's why our proposal is less. So coverage maps, we're all gonna show you coverage maps here today. They're all gonna look pretty similar. I think the key one, is the Hawkins area, but we're all using the same sites. So this is a mobile talkback, so you're pretty much gonna have countywide coverage on a mobile radio. On a portable radio outdoors, you're gonna have a few areas that you're gonna have some in the northwest that'll have a couple issues. And as you get into buildings, smaller buildings, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna lose some coverage. The only way to really fix that is add more sites in the future. And there was asked in the RFP for a 20 dB map. This is a larger building, maybe a brick building or a 2-story, a bigger steel building or something. Big buildings like Walmart, they're even higher losses, but this gives you an idea of what you're gonna look like in, for large buildings. But typically a county-wide system, they ask for 8 dB maps, and that's why we provided the 8 dB coverage maps here and here. And there's your paging. So your paging out, outdoor paging is that. And if you get in building, it's gonna kind of look like that. And if you get into a really dense building, it's gonna look like that. So you can see, if you don't have Hawkins there, that east tower just does not cover that Hawkins area. And this is the digital map. The first ones were analog, this is digital. The fire department wants to operate off of analog, and the sheriff wants to operate off of digital. And I believe you were looking at mixed mode too, maybe analog and digital. But digital gives you much better coverage. We've had some folks that have just switched to digital just because of that, because the coverage is much better when you're using digital. And there's your outdoor on a digital. And this is your indoor digital for the 8 dB, and then that 20 dB, which is a much larger building, that's what you're expecting on the digital radio system. So I just want to talk about what's called TDI, time delay interference. Basically, when you have these simulcast sites, they're all talking almost at the same time. So you have to put small delays, and there's GPS clocks at all the sites that sync all of this. Well, if you're in an area like this picture shows, a radio user, and you're a little closer to one tower than the other, you could have some interference in there. So to do that, you need to adjust your antennas. Sometimes you have to point your antennas in different directions. And the height of the antenna, how much power you're putting out, it's all important. So to reduce this interference, we're actually using combiners. I saw in the proposal they were using duplexers. Duplexers, when we did the TDI, had a lot of interference, which is gonna cause a lot of fluttering in the county if you're just using duplexers. We're using combiners, which combine the receive on one antenna and the transmit on another antenna, which really cuts down on that interference. So just shows you, we also do maps showing what the TDI is, this interference. There are gonna be some little spots you see that has some interference, and if you don't use a combining system, those spots will grow quite a bit in the county. And there's another, on the P25 digital side, you still got a couple spots over in the west that's gonna have a little that interference, but we mitigate that by, again, combiners and directional antennas. So, I wanna talk about cybersecurity. So that's me. I retired from the Air Guard 2 years ago as a full colonel. My job with the military was, my last 5 years, I was Director of Information Systems for Command, Control, Communications, and Computers. Basically, I ran the system for the state of Wisconsin when it came to the military network. And one thing, the military is cybersecurity. We want to make sure everybody that's at their computers, they have no issue with cybersecurity. Nobody's logging in and hacking our military systems. Just doesn't happen. We actually, we had a DCOE, which was a defensive cyber operations element that actually would go out and actually help utilities and other businesses, even schools, when they got hacked. We went in there as a guard and helped them fix their problems. And this kind of gives you an idea of all the armories throughout the state of Wisconsin, and we had equipment at all these, and we had to maintain cybersecurity for all those. Now, the cybersecurity threat on your system is much less on our proposal, because again, we don't have any servers or cloud storage or cloud equipment or networking that you need to talk to. So it's all a closed system that you guys operate and maintain. We are just hooking up to the fiber networks to talk, but there's no servers to hack here. But we don't want anybody to remotely try to get into any of these base stations. So our cybersecurity response is going to be really good. A little bit about our dispatch council. It is the lowest cost of ownership. Typically, we have to replace equipment about every 10 years. A lot of manufacturers, about every 5 years, they're going to come to you and say, time to upgrade, time to buy new switches, new servers. Well, as they say here, no central control, there are no servers. The councils operate independently. If you lose one council, the other ones operate. If you lose the server on a server-based system, you lose all your positions. There are no PCs at the positions. There's actually a box that runs a Linux application, but there are no central PCs sitting there. And we have a lot of the same stuff: headset, foot switch, control. You've got your telephone interface to your 911 phone system, built-in instant recall recorders, so when the dispatcher misses a call, they can just hit a button and listen to that call again. And the offering here is pretty much what the RFP asked for, and that was 4 speakers with 3 positions, with 22-inch monitors. I think I have touchscreen. I don't know if you want a touchscreen again, George, but foot switches, dual control, and we do have an option for it says DFSI option. What that is a direct IP connection from the console to the radio system. So, and here's some of the other users in the area that are using some of the mindshare consoles. Washburn, Barron, and Barron we're putting in right now. Sawyer we're putting in next year. The equipment has already arrived. They bought it early. They want to wait till we finish a new radio system before we put in the Sawyer County equipment. Rock County's got a big system with 20 channels, Jefferson, Watertown, so you can see these consoles are used quite a bit. Interoperability. So one nice thing, and we do this with some other counties, is and cities with that you could actually have Barron County could have your dispatch screen as another tab on their console. So if you have to vacate your building, if you've got a problem, you can just say, hey, can you guys take over? Or you can just take your dispatchers and go over there and operate off of one of their positions. Because you can pull up, because you're all the counties around you are using the same dispatch equipment. So it'd be a lot easier for another county to just take over your dispatch operations because everything is the same. We do need a network connection between the counties, but that's all it is to connect those counties. So a little bit more about interoperability. So right now, WISCOM, if people have heard of WISCOM, that is the Wisconsin State Communications System. It is provides statewide coverage. It covers all the counties. There's over 150 tower sites, and it's taxpayer funded. It's funded from the taxpayers. It's been in use for probably 10 years, and right now they're going through a replacement of WISCOM. That WISCOM system, it was a competitive bid between L3 Harris, which is the old GE radios from the 40s and 50s and 80s, now is owned by L3 Harris, which is a big defense contractor, and that's what we use in the military, our Harris radios. They make a lot of the radios for the military. But they won a competitive bid with Motorola to put in the new WISCOM system. There is a connection that you can take your county system and connect it into their WISCOM system to have statewide coverage if you need it. And you just basically have a talk group on their system that would talk onto your system. WISPN, which is Motorola's response to losing WISCOM, is we're gonna come up with our own system. So instead of having this taxpayer funding, we're just gonna connect all the Motorola counties together to kind of create our own. So you're limited coverage on that because it's only in the Motorola counties, and that's why they want to put your county on the map so they have another county. And it is a privately hosted system where WISCOM is a state-funded system and a state-controlled system, and they have radio techs themselves. And we'll be working on the installation, GenCom, of the WISCOM radio system, and that should be starting here shortly. They just signed the contract in May. And it requires an expensive connection with the Astro connectivity service to connect into and be a part of that system, where WISCOM is free for occasional users. Unless you're a daily user, that's when you have to pay for WISCOM. So WISCOM, much cheaper, much less expensive, cost effective for the county. And that just kind of gives you an idea of WISCOM towers throughout the state. And with the new system, they're going to be adding more towers. So part of the offering also are some vehicle repeaters. Those are just, if you get out of a squad car and you don't have coverage, you can talk through one of these repeaters back out. So then you have like your mobile radio. It's kind of like an extension to your microphone in your car, like a wireless mic in a way. It's actually allowing you to talk through your mobile radio in the car, which is usually a 100-watt radio with a big antenna rather than the small antenna on a portable radio. And it's the same, I believe it's the same thing on the other RFP or other bid response, was also the same equipment. Like I said, we're an integrator, we're using a lot of the same equipment. We did offer Kenwood radios. JVC Kenwood, they own E.F. Johnson, who currently takes care of the state radio system, but that is being replaced. We've got these radios, a lot of the West uses these radios, and they've been really good radios with a lower cost of ownership. The nice thing too is the multi-deck operation. So when WISCOM comes along, which is going to be at 800 megahertz, and you guys are at a VHF 150 megahertz, by doing a dual deck, you can actually scan WISCOM and your county, and it's seamless. Normally, if you do one multi-band radio, you're not able to scan between a trunk system and a conventional system. And some of the portable radios. So they all look fancy, they all look the same. It's kind of like your phones. A little bit more about the radio with its Kenwood Audio. Kenwood also makes stereos, car stereos, and they're known for their audio and noise canceling. So another thing that we have here, and Aaron, maybe you've got it on your phone too, is we have a cellular push-to-talk app that you can actually connect your county's channels to. So if the sheriff is down in Madison for something, he can go onto that app and listen to what's going on here in the county. So we just set that up for Barron County. We actually got that in before we got the system in, because we put it on their old system. So they're actually using that system right now, and that's included in the price of the system, that we can put those on your channels. So, this slide, Apple or Samsung, and I get it. People love their Apple. Some people like Samsung and they'll never buy an Apple, vice versa. And it's a lot with Motorola. I've got to have a Motorola radio in my hand, and I understand that. And I'm not gonna change that. So if people want Motorola radios, buy a Motorola radio. This system will work on any radio. Doesn't matter, you don't have to buy the Kenwood. You're gonna have Motorola radios just like Washburn County has, but to save your county millions of dollars, you can put in a different base station out at the tower site. That'll make and be seamless working like yourself. So I'm not telling you have to buy one, and I get it, you know. If you want your iPhone, get your iPhone. So I'm not gonna ask you to read this, but I did do some comparisons and then I talked about some of these, and I've got some leave behinds for you guys as well. But just some points on the comparison is you do have local control with your system. It is not controlled by an outside agency outside of the state. You control your system with our RFP. Fire paging, I talked about Hawkins. Hawkins is gonna be an issue unless you add a site there. The interference, I talked about that TDI interference, that is important. If you do not do combining in there, I believe you're gonna have a lot of interference with your TDI. Interoperability, we talked about that. You can have Barron County, Sawyer County, any of the counties can take over your dispatch in case you have a bomb threat, you have to evacuate your building, they just pull up your tab and they got complete control, including paging and everything on your system. And local support, we're a lot closer, we're an hour away. We're not 2.5 hours away in Minnesota. We're right here in Wisconsin in Chippewa County. Compliance, I believe we're compliant. The RFP asked for a detailed price list. That was not, we provided a detailed price list showing every item and the cost of every item. That was not given to you by the Motorola quote. They just said, it's this much money, here it is. We give you detailed pricing and everything. We also acknowledged all 3 addendums. There was 3 addendums that came out with the RFP process, Motorola only acknowledged 2. So they missed the last addendum. And normally on bids, some bids can be thrown out because they don't acknowledge all the addendums. And I'm not saying throw it out, I'm just saying we were 100% compliant and we have nothing to hide, we gave you all the pricing. And I know they've been working with Motorola a little bit already on trying to negotiate from the original bid, but if you looked at the original bid price, they were up over $4 million over 6 years, where we were 1.8, saving the county $2.7 million. Taxpayer money, $2.7 million. Now they've asked them to take some fluff out, and they've looked at some grants as well, this innovation grant. You don't need a grant for ours. We're still cheaper without a grant. And is the grant guaranteed? Does everybody get the grant? You have to apply for a grant and hope you win the grant and get the grant. And that grant will be paid over time. It won't be paid in a lump sum payment. So, and who's gonna manage that and take care of that? So here's kind of a price summary. You know, I not only did I give the detailed pricing, but the simulcast system is the 1.2 million, your dispatch console's 130,000. The radios and those vehicle repeaters are 288. So again, if you wanna buy Motorola radios, we take out the radios and you buy Motorola radios, that's fine. It happens all the time. There's a performance bond that was an option that they asked for. That's just to make sure that it's an insurance policy that we get the system installed. There's some system discounting there, but brings down the base bid price to just under 1.6 million. We do have some options for spares. Everybody should be buying spares. There is that DFSI, which is a digital IP interface for the dispatch console if you want to purchase that. And so really, and then you add in 6 years of maintenance, you're still looking at less than 1.9 million. So I kind of took that against how the Motorola pricing was, and currently they're in red expected innovation grant, $920,000 grant if you get it. But even if you get the grant, we're still almost $500,000 cheaper. And again, it's the same radio system at the end of the day. You know, where I was talking about Motorola and Apple and Samsung. Who owns the equipment at the tower site? Does Apple build the tower equipment? Does Samsung? Nah. It's a lot of stuff is Ericsson or Nokia, and it's not made by Apple or Samsung. So your core does not need to be made by who makes your radios. There is some optional equipment that I'm concerned with. Optional ACS. I believe to work on the WISPN network, you need that $818,000 for the optional. So I don't know why it's optional unless you're not going to join that network. And civil equipment. I don't know what the civil, but we are. If you look at the civil equipment, everything is in our bid. So if you take the options, we're $1.5 million less expensive for your radio system. So I started looking at the price tag. I'm like, wow, this seems really high for a county with 5 to 6 tower sites and 2 channels. You saw that diagram I showed. It's an equipment rack and a 3-position dispatch console. So I started looking at some previous quotes that we did with against some of the Motorola vendors. And Clark County, Motorola won that. They were a little cheaper than us. They were 9 sites, 4 channels, but still it was only $1 million. And when you take the 9 sites and the 4 channels, now some have microwave systems, some don't. So everything is not apples to apples. Some didn't buy a radio, some did. But I started looking at just the average cost it was per channel on the radio system. You know, Clark County was about $30,000. Greene County was $52,000. Jefferson was $71,000. Pepin was $107,000. They had a robust 4 sites, only 8 channels. And Richland County was $68,000. But all of a sudden in York County, your standalone system before the grant, if you did a standalone without WISPN, it's almost $400,000. I'm like, how did it get to $400,000 per channel when really it's a box out at a tower site? And then if you do join the WISPN network, which costs probably some annual fees to join that, you're still at $271,000. When you look at the other counties that were done over the last 6 or 7 years, they're all barely hitting $100,000. All of a sudden, Rusk County is going to cost $300,000 to $400,000 for your radio system per channel basis. So, and just look at the prices. Jefferson County was a $3 million. Well, that was 11 sites and 4 channels. You've got 5 sites and 2 channels, and it's $4 million. And I know prices have gone up over time. I mean, if you look, inflation over the last few years, prices have gone up quite a bit. I understand, but this, I'd be just really concerned spending taxpayer money. And when you look at comparable systems that were put in recently that were a lot less money. So, I mean, if you want Motorola that bad, it's county money, county taxpayer money, spend the money. But I buy your Motorola portables and mobiles and let us put in the system. We're a local company, we're an hour away. As you can see on that map, we take care of a lot of the counties around us with the same infrastructure equipment, and their county systems work just fine. And you feel free to call them. So that's pretty much my presentation. I wanted to make sure you guys know the facts and the truth, and to make sure that when you're spending a lot of taxpayer money, that it goes to the right thing. And again, lower cost of ownership. If you go back, let me just go back to the maintenance pricing. Our maintenance pricing for year 2 is half of Motorola, and that's gonna compound over time. Every year, even after the first 6 years, you're gonna be paying more money. So what is the 10-year savings? A typical radio system is 10 to 15 years on a radio system. So if your 6-year savings is this much, how much is a 10 and 15-year savings gonna be? So, okay, any questions?
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Of the
the sites that you have in place right now, how long have some of them been in service?
The current sites?
Yeah, you listed several different counties that have your system.
Oh, okay, going back, like Washburn County, they put theirs, initial one in 2021,
2022.
yeah. I mean, we've been doing, and then this is a new base station, let me go back to that map here. Sorry, that was. There we go. So Sawyer County, is in the shop now, they're gonna be putting it in, or not, sorry, it's not in the shop, but that's a 2025 project. We're doing Barron County now. Barron County actually has a Tate system now that was put in 2009, and they're doing a new system to add simulcast. They did not have simulcast in 2009. So it's been 15 years, like I said, a typical system is a 10 to 15 year system. So Barron County, we're replacing a Tate system with a new Tate system.
So, okay, just using Barron County as an example.
Yeah, Chippewa County was like 4 years ago, Eau Claire's been 6, 7. St. Croix's probably been 6 years or so. So a lot of these systems, Jefferson was 2019. Rock County's been using them for years, so some are new, some are a little older.
But like using Barron as an example.
Yeah.
So it's, what you said, like the older system has been in service for 10 to 15?
15 years, 2009.
And what has gone wrong with that? Anything?
No, what they're, right, the technology that they used back then, they did not use simulcast technology, which allows all the towers to transmit at one time.
Well, I understand,
Yep.
that, but I mean, just the equipment that they went with when they put it in.
Yeah.
So have they had any issues with that?
No.
From you?
No.
No, okay.
No.
My next question then is, do you guarantee coverage?
Well, there was no coverage guarantee in the RFP. A lot of RFPs will come out and say, we want 95% countywide. We were told, these are our towers and we wanna put coverage at these sites. So, I mean, we can show you the maps and say, yeah, we'll provide coverage to these maps, but we can't say that we're gonna give you 95% coverage because we were told these are the towers you need to use. So we use, well, I should say, they said these are the towers we have and these are what we want, so. So that's why you really can't give, there is no coverage guarantee. The maps, you know, I will guarantee that, hey, if our map shows we're gonna have coverage, we're gonna have coverage there. So, and there is no coverage testing. Sometimes you drive around and actually do coverage testing and do some tweaking, but the RFP didn't ask for a coverage guarantee, so.
And then, does your system include updating the existing towers to accommodate, you know, your equipment?
So that's a good question. Because we're gonna do fiber, originally we were looking at doing microwave. And I did have a slide on the microwave design that we came up with, but that requires larger dishes on the tower. And a lot of the towers, especially the east tower, cannot handle that or support that. It's a small tower. So what we're looking at doing is pretty much replacing the antennas on the tower with different antennas. So we're replacing the same weight with the same weight roughly. So you're not gonna have, we don't have to update the towers for the additional weight because the weight is pretty much gonna be fairly similar to what you have now. But if we were gonna do microwave, then you would probably need to replace some towers. And like the new tower in the southwest off of Mud Lake Road, that tower, if you were to add a dish for microwave, they normally charge you more in a lease rate also. So by going fiber, it actually brings your costs down, and you don't have to have large antennas that load the tower. It's the microwave dishes that really cause tower loading. And since we're doing fiber, you're just gonna be putting up the radio antennas, and all the sites currently have radio antennas on them now.
And is there going to be fiber installation required?
Yeah, we did check with Bruce Telephone. They had a low cost of upfront ownership, and I know the DNR tower that they're on now, they did say it would probably run about $1,800 to bring fiber from the road back to the tower. I haven't talked to Brightspeed. I think George has talked to Brightspeed on what it's gonna cost to put in the fiber, and I know their monthly cost was a lot more than Bruce Telephone. It'd be nice if Bruce could do the whole county. So, but yeah, your fiber, that cost is gonna be the same whether you use us or Motorola system. Because we're just needing that IP backbone connection.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Okay, thanks for your time, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. Motorola solution.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's kind of hard to read this.
Yep.
Here's a couple copies of it. It's too hard to read on this screen. Hey, here's my chart. Here's my chart. Oh,
Yep. Huh? You have it.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, because they sit down.
Yeah, it is.
We good?
Yep, hitter.
Hitter, all right. Good morning, everybody. I know a lot of you have been up here quite a few times, actually over the last several years. As we worked with Rusk County to upgrade your current Motorola radio system with a new upgraded simulcast radio system. Appreciate the board and the county's time to listen to our presentation, as well as give us the opportunity to earn your business again. So I am Derek DePietro. I am the area sales manager for Motorola Solutions, covering Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, living in southeast Wisconsin myself. With me is Chad Olszewski. Chad is the county executive that covers Rusk County, as well as most of rural Wisconsin and the state agencies. Chad recently joined our team from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office and is currently a police officer in the Air National Guard, so we thank him for his service. We have Steve Kutch. He is the Wisconsin Public Safety Network Operations Director. You heard Gary talk a little bit about that, and then I'll definitely shed some light on the truth of what that system is. And then, I'm sure all know Sid Sanaki from Ancom. Sid is gonna be, and has been the face of Motorola for you guys for several years. Just an agenda of the things that we will go over today, and I'll try to make it brief and keep it as high level as possible. Definitely don't want to see your eyes glazing over. You know, we are talking a lot about technology, but really what we're talking about is being there for the citizens of Rusk County in the moments that matter, connecting the people with, who are in need with those who can be there to serve and protect. So, first key differentiator as we come off, why MSI, why Motorola Solutions? So, recently we've launched a new brand narrative that is solving for safer. And really, I mentioned this earlier, but this is really about connecting those in need with those who can provide the help. So this is where the lines of public safety are blurred now between private entity and hospitals and hotels and stadiums, and the shootings that we have today with our public safety agency. So, at the end of the day, we are not an integrator, right? We are the manufacturer. Every product that we are going to talk about today is manufactured by Motorola Solutions, tested by Motorola Solutions, and they're all done so in conjunction with each other. So we're not going to see an upgrade on one system cause an issue on another system. So recently named Fast Company's one of Fast Company's most innovative companies. So at the end of the day, what you're looking at purchasing isn't going to be a base station made by one person and a radio made by another and a in-vehicle repeater and then the whatever console, right? Motorola Solutions tested together in a lab before it's deployed to you. So one Motorola solution on your radio, one Motorola solution on your base stations, one Motorola solution on your in-vehicle repeaters, on your consoles. Everything that happens is going to happen with one Motorola Solutions. Really high level, 5-site, 2-channel design. We have some coverage maps. We can certainly go through those at a high level. 3-position consoles, fully integrated, again, Motorola integrated in-vehicle repeater solution. So that's what you're getting. Above the line, above the blue line, that's what you're purchasing today. Below the line is what you're getting as a result. And we talked a little bit about the Whips and Core and it being fully loaded. It's also going to give you LTE push to talk. It's going to give you the ability for location, LTE programming, and interoperability. Talked a little bit about cybersecurity earlier. The difference is we own and operate a cybersecurity company all within Motorola Solutions. So you have native cybersecurity support. And then the innovation grant we'll talk about as well, which gives you access to almost $1 million of grant funding if you go with the Whipson solution. So as you're building out the new radio system, some challenges is the microwave topology, which just means the distance between sites and the curvature, site loading, simulcast optimization, and licensing. So we opted in our proposal, we noticed that there was absolutely no way you're going to be able to do a backhaul with microwave without significant improvements to your site. So we didn't even bother bidding it. We bid a solution called ACS, which is using commercial carriers to connect your sites. And we can offer this as a service, which is in our proposal, or you can do the backhaul yourself, which is the Bruce Pell and the Brightspeed connection. So in our proposal, if you are able to come to an agreement with Brightspeed and Brewstel, then we'll use that, and then the optional ACS that you see in our quote will not be applicable. But if we find that we can't get either their pricing down or we can't get their connections done, then we do have a commercial through Motorola solution option that will still work with your ACS links, and that pricing is in the proposal. We definitely used our coverage design team to minimize the simulcast phasing interference. And we are currently working with and have been working with the FCC to help license frequencies that will work on your system. Just a quick site system as what you have today. This is our proposed design. And and then either fiber or ACS links connecting them. We didn't run a mobile map because it basically looks like this. So our mobile coverage is just much of the same way as the GenCom proposal is pretty widespread and countywide, which is why the in-vehicle repeater solution is a great idea, because that's going to connect your portable radio to your mobile, which is going to have great countywide coverage. Similar interference up to the north, as you saw in the previous maps, but again, this is showing countywide. This is the system talking out in digital on the street, and then the darker color is the heavy in building. This is the system, this is the radio talking back into the system, so this is always a little bit worse because there's less power coming off the radio than there is the system. The fire analog outbound, again, this is the fire system has a little bit less coverage just because the antennas are a little bit lower on the tower. Analog fire coming back in, and then the paging. So again, the light green is on street, the darker color is your heavy in building as requested from the RFP. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit now about the Wisconsin Public Safety Network, or WIPSN. What this is an interconnected network of Motorola systems that is operated by a hosted core. So what that means is it's a public-private partnership with Motorola Solutions to provide you P25 call processing. What that means is, in a nutshell, is you're gonna take advantage of some of our latest technology and be able to do so in a way that's gonna provide increased interoperability for Rusk County in a way that's more cost effective than deploying the core yourself. So it is an alternative to Wiscom. I know up in these parts, Wiscom can be a 4-letter word, but the reality is it's there, and this is an opportunity to easily and natively connect into even the current Wiscom. It's doing it today, as well as whenever the state gets up here with their new Wiscom system, it'll be ready to connect to that too, again, at a wireline level, in a way that's gonna provide maximum interoperability for Rusk County. So with the hosted core, you're gonna get improved redundancy because there is a geo-redundant core, so that's something that you're gonna get. Interoperability with Wiscom, current and future, as we talked about, as well as your neighbors. Increased cybersecurity protection. So cybersecurity protection is included. Manage, detect, respond. Having AI running on your system to detect any anomalies and then isolate those anomalies is part of our solution. There is no such thing as a closed system. A dispatcher plugging a cell phone to charge it into your system could take the entire thing down. So we are monitoring for that. And that's part of our solution. We also have lifecycle in here, so your system will get updated every couple of years with the current software. Any hardware needed, router switches to keep that system going will be included, as well as Cirrus Central Management. So this is how you manage your system if you so choose, remotely from anywhere in the world, or you can have someone else manage your system if you like. If you like Ancom do that, or Motorola, we can certainly help. The innovation grant, so this is a grant run by the Department of Revenue. It's awarded for consolidation of services for any county, municipality, agency, or private entity. The private entity here would be Motorola Solutions. The county can receive up to $10 million or $100,000 for innovation grant planning. The grant total is equal to 25% of the total savings generated by the plan. And all plans require a maximum savings of 10%, and plans must have 25% of the projected savings in the first 24 months. This is pretty high level, but this is something that we would include in a contract with you that lays out the savings of you deploying your own Motorola central core system versus joining the WIPSN network. And our projected total innovation grant savings is nearly $1 million. So it's correct to point out that this is something that you have to apply for once you enter an agreement with us, but it is something that we believe Rusk County would get awarded. We actually have a pretty good relationship with the speaker down in Madison who wrote the legislation for the innovation grant, and we've spoken to him about exactly these sorts of things, and he said, I think his exact words were, this is exactly the intention of why we wrote this grant. So civil scope, as proposed, towers, basically cabinets, new generators, and new UPSs. Don't want to bore you guys too much. This is how we do our civil construction. So this is a pad with shelter for working, generator we proposed with a belly tank to help avoid any flooding. So access console, this is Motorola's next generation dispatch console at the very front end of this product life cycle. The MCC consoles, actually, you have the version previous to that, so the MIP consoles have you've been running for probably close to 20 years. So you're using that past its actual life cycle, but this is the new one, so it's always good to get the front end when you're replacing. Seamless integration into the Motorola system over the network, upgrades and updates, so you get those updates right away. Extremely flexible. We can basically emulate any of the colors and tiles and screens to look very similar to what you have today, minimizing switching manufacturers. And mission critical reliability, and that's really all it is that Motorola does, is mission critical communications. As proposed is the APX 4000 single band radio. You guys have a bunch of these radios today. I think Gen Con concedes that this is probably the better radio for you anyway, so I won't spend a ton of time on the radios. But it's P25 purpose-built critical communications for Rusk County. The Apex 8500 100-watt mobile radio. It's very similar with this radio as well. And then the FutureCom Motorola in-vehicle repeater VRX 1000. This is an in-vehicle repeater system that is fully integrated. Again, it's not just passing push to talk, right? So when you look at talking in digital, it's passing IDs, it's passing emergencies, it's giving IDs to the console position. So what we found in many of our customers is the repeater actually works so well that they got to turn down the wattage because the actual portable radios get too far away from the car and still working, and they want to minimize that. So that's our in-vehicle repeater. Again, Motorola owned and solution. Project schedule, 12 to 18 months from contracting. As you can see there, this is just something that was asked for in our proposal. Pricing summary as proposed, about $2.9 million for the base of the system, and then as you can see, 300,000-ish annually. That includes the Astro connectivity services. Again, we didn't bid microwave. We didn't bid backhaul. So those out years represent the cost to not need to replace your microwave, but contract with us connecting your sites together. The breakout in site connectivity between our services, our cybersecurity services, as well as the Astro connectivity services between the sites, that's the 886. But since our RFP response, we've identified a couple of things that we could do to lower our overall cost to Rusk County, and we have that here today. So Rusk County can provide your own generators, so you can provide those at a cost that's less than what we can do. So that'll lower our overall cost. We're going to reuse the shelter at Shelton, so we're gonna remove some civil cost. Procure fiber from Brightspeed and Brewstel, as was discussed earlier. And we've also decided that you have a Spillman server upgrade quote in front of you today. about $60,000, and we're gonna include that at no additional cost to you. So the numbers as they look today, about $2.7 million, that's your brand new system installed. Again, if you think about the innovation grant and take almost $1 million of that, now we're down close to the $1.7 million that you saw earlier. As well as our out years costing for cybersecurity, connectivity, and lifecycle. So in summary, we think that this is the best design for Rusk County. Limited site work needed. We have the Wisconsin Public Safety Network, which allows Rusk to apply for the innovation grant. And honestly, it really allows Rusk County to be ready for the future in communications in Wisconsin. So as the new public safety system rolls out, the new Wiscom, you're ready to dial into that. Again, the one today currently, as well as the new one, whenever that gets up here. And then, next generation consoles, again, you guys had a tendency of buying something, using it, letting the end of life announcement come out, say thanks, we're gonna keep using it, and we're gonna use it well beyond that, which is what you've done with your current radio base stations and your current consoles, right? So we are probably 5 years removed from life cycle of those being supported, yet here they are, still working, still humming. You need to replace them, they are very old, but the point is, you put that in probably 25 years ago, give or take, early 2000s. So, what you're buying is something built to last, and that's what we're providing to you. So you're not going to be, asking this board for another $1 million in 10 years to replace the system. Best in class radios, purpose built, public safety, truly integrated solution. We are not an integrated. We are Motorola badged employees living in the state of Wisconsin, all of us, except for Sid, but we'll adopt them. And we have local Motorola badged employees that live well within an hour of Rusk County. So if something truly is critical in nature, we can certainly get someone here much quicker. The honesty is, ANCOM, you love, you trust. You've been your face to Motorola forever. We're not here explaining who we are. You know who we are. We are Motorola Solutions, Public Safety Communications. This is what we do. This is why we get out every day. So I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions? No questions?
Hope I kept that high level enough for you guys. Well, again, thank you for your time. You guys have a hard decision to make. We're honored to be here in front of you today, and hope that we can continue to do business with Rusk. So thank you.
Thank you. Up to you, Terry.
Well, for emergency services people, do you have any questions for either one of them? Do we need a resolution to adopt?
If that's what the committees feel you would like to do, if you'd like to forward this to the board to get this project moving, then yes.
Okay,
I'd just like to know, do we have the fiber installed costs yet?
Yes.
Because you've got a lot of stuff that's thrown out in the air, and we don't have anything on a piece of paper in front of us, which really frustrates me. So I think they're bottom end quotes. I don't know what it covers. We're doing the concrete pads, the building, I presume, generators, that's all gotta be put in this package somehow. That's part of the money we're gonna borrow.
Just the generators and the, connection for Roosevelt and.
Because, I don't know if anybody looked at that Sheldon building, but I was on the board when that building was built. That building needs a lot of work, it'd be cheaper buying the one. I don't know if anybody's looked at it.
The Sheldon one was in Enbridge now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Somebody fix it up?
And that's a brand new building.
Huh?
It's a brand new building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not fully building in town.
Well, that's what I got out of this, so
Yep.
that's why I was curious.
Well, the Enbridge building is brand new, within,
So we're using Enbridge's building?
yes,
Okay.
same building we're using now.
With the new site going up at, I guess they call it Mud Lake, are the portables gonna have to be reprogrammed to get it in there, or is that gonna fit in under the simulcast that will work in the new radios now?
I believe it'll be a reprogramming issue.
For every portable one? Okay, that has to be somewhere in there.
You'd have to do that for either one, because we're adding that.
Well, we just gotta know the bottom end.
Yep.
That's part of it. And then, to be realistic, how much is it gonna cost us if we build a new jail to take this up here and move it over there? Are they gonna do that for free? I can hope. But that's something we have to consider in the project. It's gonna be part of it, if we build a new jail. I guess that's what I got for this point. I'll probably have more when it comes to going over it. But I need a full sheet on everything in it. The whole entire project, which has been talked about at the committee. All these incidental costs, I mean, they're incidental and they're small, but they're all part of it. I don't know it's all covered, so.
So what is the pleasure of emergency services? Do you want to recommend one or the other, or just forward it to the county board?
Sheriff, what do you think?
What I think. I like both presentations. We have Motorola on everything we have. GenCom's presentation, says that everything they have will work with whatever, radio or other equipment we have. We personally want the best of everything, but it all comes down to money. And so I don't think this should fall down on me as to, for me to pick one or the other. If that's the case, why are we having this meeting? You should have called me in and asked my opinion. You guys have to weigh in on this because you guys have to make the decision to spend this money, not me.
I would say,
Okay, so that being said, point taken. So, with the second presentation with Motorola or Wisco, there is the opportunity to have a grant. However, a line that was actually passed over during the presentation, which I thought was kind of important, and that was that in order for us to even apply for the grant, we have to sign a contract with that company. That's kind of a red flag to me. I would like to know whether or not we can get that grant prior to signing with someone. I really would. That's my personal opinion on that.
No, that's not what was presented.
Right, and there's no guarantee on it. I mean,
No guarantee.
the likelihood is very well, there's no guarantee on it.
I'm sorry?
To receive the grant is not 100% guaranteed.
That was my
You have to
point.
apply for it.
That was my point.
It's highly likely we would get it because that money is out there and nobody's using it, but again.
Maybe I misspoke or
No, I get what you're saying, I get what you're saying, but I'm just telling you, there's no 100% guarantee, but you will have to sign a contract in order to apply for that grant, is that correct? Yes.
Well, okay, never mind. Personally,
If I can,
yeah.
what I've gotten out of this in the past is, there's a lump of some money sitting dedicated to this, but it's not really been tapped yet, for the most part.
Correct.
But it's still a grant, so who knows what could happen politically between then and now. It looks really good, like we should be able to get it, because it's sitting there, it's committed, and it's not used, so. It's a gamble anyhow.
I guess then I would simply say, if you wanna know, if you wanna weigh in on this, for me personally, I would probably lean towards GenCom. Reason being is, they can utilize Motorola equipment, what you're familiar with. And then also the cost factor. We're looking at a possible new jail, which we're looking at putting the citizens of this county in a financial predicament with that. So if we can proceed with a system that's gonna work basically the same, and be cheaper, I think that's the direction we need to take.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Emergency management. Sue,
I don't feel that I know enough about it, and I personally would like to know, and I know it's been said that it's hard to do, but the people that use it all the time, I would like to know what your thoughts are on it. I know you're not the ones choosing it, but in what you've dealt with so far, I'd like to know from you.
Well, we were just talking here, one of the new things that GenCom presented was the ability for another county to pull up a tab and be able to dispatch from their center. With the issues going on in our world today is staffing. Being able to staff, or we've been through a tornado, we know what it's like to not have the capability to run our dispatch, and for another county to be able to open that up and us to send people there to continue to carry on without the interruption is a positive thing. Phil, you got anything you wanna weigh in?
Yeah, so you want more understanding about how the deficiencies of our current system, right? And how it puts our deputies at risk.
I wanna know which one you're thinking would help you guys out the most.
Okay, so just a little history, a little background. Our current system is decades old. Yeah, okay, so it's very, very, very old. I actually threw Tom in my squad one day and we went and did some radio checks. We were on the southwest part of the county. My squad radio is a lot more powerful than the radios we carry on our duty belts. And even in my squad radio, I called dispatch a couple different times and never got a response because they never heard me. A couple times I called them, I got a response, but we couldn't understand it. Even if we get a brand new system, and let's say we add 4 more towers throughout the county, which would be millions and millions of dollars. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we still would not have 100% coverage. And when I say that, if I'm in a school, or if I'm in someone's basement, I still probably will not be able to get out on my radio.
Possibly. I mean,
So-
I think Jen kind of say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
The closer you are to the tower, the better, so the more towers.
Right. I mean, you could theoretically, if like any problem, right, the more money you throw at it, anything can be solved, but the issue comes down to, it's just, you know, what's fiscally responsible and what,
And
you
you
know,
can
where.
put in-building amplifiers in schools and large facilities, to supplement
Right.
the
And
radio
that's,
system as well.
part of the other reason we include the cello is because it's just a push to talk on your phone. So I can grab my phone, I can log into it, and I can talk to Barron from here.
Right, but a lot of places
You know.
too in Rusk County don't have cell service.
Sure.
Like in my
Yeah,
basement,
but we're trying to, you know, cover
Yeah.
as much as we can.
like
with
in my basement, my
options.
phone actually says no
No
service.
service, yeah.
But what the issue we're trying to fix is to get newer equipment at the sites that we currently have. Because every single week, multiple times a week, there's deputies that are on a traffic stop and they're on their portable and they can't talk to dispatch. And that's a problem. That's a really big safety problem. And I know Jeff has said this before, safety of our staff is number one. And we have a problem with that right now. And it's really unfortunate. And we feel really bad for the guys that are out there on the domestics, on the traffic stops, that their lifeline doesn't work a lot of times. Simulcast will be a huge upgrade for us. So right now, if let's say I'm at Christie Mountain, and my partner is south of Ingram. If I get on my squad radio and talk to dispatch, he can't hear me, because I'm on a different tower. Where with the simulcast, it opens up all the towers, so it doesn't matter if I'm down at Canoe Bay, and my partner's up at, north of Hawkins, we're gonna hear each other talking on the radio.
Okay, just to stop there.
Yep.
So both of these businesses would provide simulcast, am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Alright.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm not biased either way. We just want a system that's gonna work for our people. That's what we want. We've used Motorola equipment ever since all three of us have been here. We have never had a problem with Motorola equipment. We have Spillman as our RMS system, who Motorola bought. What's the jail system?
Same thing, Spillman.
I know, but,
The phone system is Vesta.
Vesta, which is Motorola on that.
Yep.
As far as equipment goes, like as far as the actual radios in our squads, the radios on our belts, we prefer Motorola because that's what works.
So with Gen Com, we can use Motorola radios?
You can,
Okay.
yep.
Alright.
So before, I think it was in January or February, Phil probably remembers this, Caleb probably remembers this. I sent messages out to all the chief deputies in the state. And I have it written out. I saved it, just for you, Sue. Give me 2 seconds to find it.
By the way, generators are on our proposal. I didn't know you wanted to take them out. We're gonna fund them yourself. We have to take them out of ours.
Okay, so there's a computer program that we have that all the chief deputies and all the sheriffs are hooked up through the state, and we can bounce questions, ideas, policies off of each other. So I reached out to all the chief deputies in the state on February 8th. About 15 of them got back to me, which is not uncommon. 13 of the 15 use Motorola radios. 2 of them use Harris radios, and not a single one that got back to me uses Kenwood. I reached out again to all the chief deputies in the state on March 13th, asking who uses Kenwood radios and if they're satisfied with them. I also asked the DNR. The DNR used to have Kenwood radios, and they switched to Motorola. So I'm not saying Kenwood radios don't work. I'm not saying Harris radios don't work. Just based on the information that I've gotten back, most of the sheriff's departments in the state are using Motorola.
Okay, but we can use Motorola with.
Yes. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of the research that I did.
Okay, then I guess my vote would be Gen Com.
Okay, is for emergency management members, is there a motion to adopt one or the other? Or a resolution, a motion?
Are we wanna go that farthest right now, or?
Well, we should do it and forward it to the county board, what our recommendation would be.
Okay, then I would motion that we go with Gen Com.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to authorize proceeding with the Rusk County Radio Project using GenCom and forwarding this to the county board. Is any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. I think this is the end of both.
Is there consensus, what's the property committee think? So I have both committees on this resolution.
And I guess it's our turn. What is the consensus turn on the property side of it?
I'd make the same motion.
Motion being the one with GenCom?
Yeah.
I have a motion by Mr. Biller. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Mr. Hanson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move forward to the county board.
Are you okay if I read the resolution to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Whereas the Rusk County Sheriff's Office and Rusk County Ambulance have identified deteriorating radio network performance over the last several years, and whereas the Rusk County Board of Supervisors on January 23rd, 2024 requested the Property Committee to advertise for vendors to upgrade the county's emergency service radio network and equipment, and whereas the Property Committee on February 9th, 2024 authorized the sheriff to advertise a request for proposals, and whereas the county received 2 responses, and whereas the Emergency Services and Property Committees heard presentations from both respondents at a joint meeting on June 14th, 2024, and whereas the Emergency Services and Property Committees recommend proceeding with the radio project with GenCom, and whereas the radio project will be funded from capital projects. Now therefore be it resolved that the Rusk County Board of Supervisors hereby approve authorizing the board chair to negotiate terms and enter into contract with GenCom to proceed with the radio project, and be it further resolved that the radio project will be funded from capital projects. Everyone okay with that? So Phil, to your point, if there are some details that need to be worked out, the resolution would give Caleb, probably with Rich, the authority to negotiate that.
Just wanna make sure it's all covered.
Okay.
If I send this to you, can you print it?
Yeah.
Okay, the Emergency Management Services Committee is now adjourned at 9:22.